Hello. That was how he began every speech. A short, confident word that opened the door for investors and shut the mouths of skeptics. Daniel Hart, 42, founder of Northbank Systems, owner of a glass penthouse above Hudson Yards, the man who turned the chaos of micropayments into a transparent flow of money. That evening he was standing under the stage of a charity ball, rehearsing his speech, when the phone flashed with a white flash. The SEC has opened an investigation. We need to talk. His heart didn't have time to react when two men in dark suits, with cold calm on their faces, appeared next to him. Mr. Hart, we need your attention for a minute. Glasses clinked in the room. Someone laughed so loudly that money could last forever. This is a mistake, he thought, breaking through the whispers that had thickened into a sticky silence. A mistake, because the system was clean. He had been repeating for years, clenching his own doubts in his fist. The agents showed him papers where his name was listed alongside market manipulation, closed deals, and illegal access to data. Do you have a lawyer? One asked, and the whole evening's music had disappeared into that simple question. Backstage, he caught a call from Emily, the CFO and former lover, a woman with a memory like a safe. Dan, they came to us too. Someone leaked internal correspondence. Not everything, but enough to make it look awful. Someone? He couldn't keep the metal from his voice. Someone of my own, she said, and the line went dead. A flash of light flashed through his mind. The board of directors, a contract with a government contractor, an old agreement he never wanted to sign, but signed, to drive innovation. Now that signature glowed like a wound. He returned to the hall as if he had entered a wind tunnel. On stage was a senator who liked to say that technology is our wings, and he smiled as if he already knew about Northbank. Daniel looked around the room. Partners, donors, the TV camera, and something new, wary was reflected in every face. This is not happening to me, he thought, and lied to himself for the first time in a long time. Then he took a step towards the exit, without saying goodbye. At the door he caught up with the host's voice. Mr. Hart, will you say a few words? He stopped, took a breath. I'll say it later, he replied softly, and went out to meet the rain that was falling on New York as if the sky had signed its own dirty deal. In the car, the darkness cut him into two halves, the one that still believed in purity, and the one that remembered every compromise. He opened his email, and there were already dozens of threads. Breaking, exclusive, the bank that never sleeps has woken up in a nightmare. Before the screen lit up again, he whispered, I'll fix it. But the words were drowned out by the city's hum, like drops on the Brooklyn Bridge, beautiful, defenseless, powerless. And just then, another message came to his phone, a video of him holding a pen over a document in a meeting and saying, if this is the price of speed, I'll pay. He didn't remember those words, but the camera did, and the night grew longer. The world had been beating against the glass of his office since morning. The PR team sat tense as a string. We'll say we're cooperating, the communications manager suggested. We'll tell the truth, Dan snapped, but he didn't know which version of the truth would stand the test of time. The board of directors met in an extraordinary session and voted to suspend the founder while we investigate. They had applauded his courage before. Now they applauded the procedure. He sat across from them, knowing he would lose even where Spotify had been the player yesterday, not him. The media was thundering. Tiny commissions for the poor are mountains of gold for one. User data that was supposedly anonymized was strangely predictive of their behavior. Emily disappeared for a day, then returned with hard eyes. The Gulfstream 17 contract. Remember? She said. Then we signed, because everyone signed. Me, you, and our lawyer. But the appendix had a clause about optimizing flows in favor of the state partner. If we interpret this as manual intervention, we're finished. You've seen the appendixes, right? The ice trembled slightly in his voice. No, someone approved them without me. Someone rang again, like a string about to snap. Cameras burst into the office. A journalist with a sharp look. Mr. Hart, is it true that you blackmailed Senator Grayson with his voter data? No. Is it true that your algorithm forcibly increased commissions during charity meetings? No. Is it true that you said, I'll pay any price? He thought for a split second, and that was enough. The broadcast went in circles. Distrust multiplied. like stocks falling in a spiral. That evening, someone had broken into his personal vault, not a safe, but a cloud. There was no incriminating evidence, but there was a letter from his father, a Ukrainian immigrant who had once butchered beef in a Brooklyn slaughterhouse. Son, wealth is not pride. It's a trust account. Don't eat it yourself. Dan reread the phrase like a prayer, hating himself for once calling his father's decisions swift. Then the evening began to fall apart. A general partner had broken off a contract, another had frozen a line of credit, and Senator Grayson had spoken on air. "We will not tolerate private empires above the law." The words had rung so right that no one wanted to remember how, last year, the same senator had asked North Bank for a technology consultation behind closed doors. When the night had calmed down, Emily said, almost in a whisper, "Dan, I'm sorry. I'm testifying. I can't sink with a ship that has forgotten what it sailed for." He looked at her as if at a shore that had suddenly straightened into a wall. "So you think I sold them? I think you've gone blind." The door closed, leaving him with the glow of the city like a fire underwater. He opened the stock tape and saw his fortune melting away in a belt of fire, million by million. Reputation, fortune, lover, hope, all fell from his hands at once. And in that silence he admitted for the first time, the galaxy he had built was not what it seemed. The real help came not from lawyers or old friends. It came in the form of an old letter from a once friendly office in Sacramento. "Mr. Hart, you don't remember me. I'm Noah Lehman, the intern you once defended when I accidentally deleted the test database. I have copies of the logs from Gulfstream 17. They have signatures on them that never belonged to you." Attached to the letter was an archive, dry lines of logs, timestamps, digital fingerprints. "Where did you get it? You once said, always keep a track. The future loves witnesses." So I kept one. Dan was sitting with Noah in a coffee shop on the outskirts of Jersey City. "Why are you helping?" "Because I signed the wrong thing once, and I want to see how they fix it." They sipped cheap coffee as if it were guilt. The logs revealed the unobvious. The flow optimization application was activated from an external domain tied to the consulting company Meridian Insight. In the contact list, there was an advisor to Senator Grayson and a board member of North Bank. "They let us like blind men." Dan gritted his teeth. Noah put a flash drive on his table. "Here's also a raw video from your meeting, the one from which the phrase was cut. In the full version, you say, 'If this is the price of speed, I'll pay the price myself. But the system is clean.' How many people saw this? Virtually no one. Because clean in the news doesn't go viral." At that moment, something clicked in Dan's head, not like at the ball, it clicked hope. Forbidden knowledge always has a double edge. It provides an answer and demands a sacrifice. "If we make this public," Noah said, "half the city will burn. And your part will too. Because even though you didn't manipulate, you signed everything without reading every appendix." "I did. I didn't finish reading," Dan corrected, and for the first time smiled with a bitterness that tasted like truth. At night, he went to the warehouse in Brooklyn where he had once started. The walls remembered him, moving servers like chests of the future. There, another ally was waiting for him, an unexpected one. Isabel Torres, the same journalist with the sharp gaze. "I knew you would come here," she said, "because people always come back to where they first believed the world owed them. Show me what you've got." He placed the laptop in front of her. She read in silence, cursing only once under her breath. "This is war, Daniel, and you're no saint in it. But so are they. Do you want justice or justification?" "The truth. Then it'll hurt." They prepared the material together. Isabel demanded the full version of the correspondence. Dan demanded that nothing that could harm users be leaked. She shrugged. "This is the first time a billionaire has asked me about ethics. This is the first time a billionaire understands that money is not armor." In the morning, when the file was finally complete, Isabel looked up. "Ready?" "No, but enough." The link flew out into the world. And with it, an unexpected discovery. The Meridian Insight system contained an Athena module that collected citizens' political preferences for strategic consultations. Under it was the signature of Counselor Grayson. The picture of the world was completely turned upside down. They asked him to come to the Senate hearing. Voluntarily, it sounded like an ultimatum, a chance, and a trap. Dan could choose the path of compromise, quietly sign a plea deal with the prosecutors, keep some of his fortune, move to a villa in Miami, and fade into the silence of the ocean. Or he could go before the cameras and admit everything he hadn't admitted for years. His own pride, his blind signatures, his greed for crazy high-rise blocks. What would your father say? Isabel asked. What's better than losing a house than a name? Then go. Together? Journalists don't walk together. We walk side by side. In the hall he saw faces he had seen on plasma screens before, but now they were flesh. Senator Grayson with his perfect smile, the councilman who had voted against him yesterday, and Emily, not on his side, but not on someone else's either, on the side of what she considered proper. Mr. Hart, the senator began, do you admit that your company allowed? Yes, Dan interrupted. The noise rolled in like thunder. Yes, we were negligent. Yes, I signed documents that should have been looked at longer. Yes, I put speed over caution. But no, we did not manipulate commissions for the benefit of politicians. That was done by a consulting firm connected to your office. He placed a thumb drive with logs on the table. Here are the full logs, the raw video, and the signature chain. I make no apologies. I demand an investigation for myself and for them. This is slander. Grayson's advisor snapped. This is data. Isabel said calmly from the back rows, holding up a copy with the hashes already circulating online. The senator straightened up, like a man who feels a chasm beneath his feet, but still believes in a bridge that doesn't exist. Mr. Hart, if you think that by involving the government you're going to save yourself, I'm not saving myself, Dan replied. I'm restoring trust that I've misappropriated. He looked at Emily. She nodded, not as an ally, but as an accountant who had finally brought the balance together. It was all right there. When the hearing was over, the market shuddered again. North Bank shares shot up for a moment, then fell even lower. Investors don't like the truth until they've digested fear. But the real battle wasn't on the stock market. The prosecutor's office filed a case against Meridian Insight, and the senator's team filed lawsuits, calling it a coordinated media attack. Daniel had signed off on the trusts and handed control of the company to an independent board of supervisors. You're crazy, one of his partners told him. Maybe, Dan smiled. But I don't want to be smart anymore if it means being dumb. He stepped onto the steps of the Capitol, raised his face to the sky, and felt the cold wind cure him of his illusion of invulnerability. The case dragged on, as it always does when money and human nature are involved. Meridian Insight botched its audits. Grayson's advisor was fired and replaced with a more cautious one. Daniel paid fines for negligence and lost most of his fortune. The news no longer called him a genius. The former billionaire had surrendered to reality like a ship in a storm. But that morning, as he was riding the subway in Brooklyn, the guy in the hoodie stood up and said, Are you the one who confessed? Thanks. My mom used your platform to collect money for surgery, and it was honest. Dan nodded. That's how it always should be. In the evening, he returned to the warehouse, which he had converted into a small open-source lab. Noah and a few students were already waiting there, writing transparent tools that would let anyone see where the micro-commissions were going. Isabel came in with coffee and the news. Did you see that? The trust rating for charitable funds is rising. I see. He ran through another thought in his head. Can a person redeem the past? Can one be rich and honest if wealth constantly offers detours? Wealth is an account of trust. He read his parents' letter again and smiled, like a person who finally knows how to read the fine print of fate. Emily called late. I testified against them too. We're not saints, but we're not devils. I know. Do you regret it? Yes. And I don't. Like the operation I should have done earlier. She laughed through her fatigue. Maybe someday we'll sign something together. This time after reading it to the end? Maybe. The connection was cut off, leaving a lightness, not a victory, but of an honest defeat, which sometimes begins freedom. At night, it rained again over the city. Daniel went out onto the roof where he had once picked up signals from a cheap router and felt the drops wash away from his skin everything that had stuck to him from years of chasing. Truth or success? He asked the darkness. What if success is the ability to tell the truth when it hurts? The moral did not become simpler. He did not become a saint and not a billionaire again. He became a man who chose a voice where he had once chosen silence. And that answer is perhaps the most precious thing one can afford in a country that worships winners but sometimes listens to those who dare to tell how they lost properly.